And welcome. Good to have you along. I'm Michael Bryant. This is the Law and Crime Network. We're going to continue our coverage in Knoxville, Tennessee. This is the mom-daughter murder trial for Robin Howington, the defendant accused of shooting her 5-year-old daughter, Destiny Oliver. This happened in September of 2019. Destiny was transported to a medical center, but she later died. Howington looking at 6 charges, including murder and tampering with evidence. Jury is now under deliberating there. They got, an hour and 15 minutes into the process. The verdict, of course, when it's reached, we will get right into court for that, or if they have any questions, anything of that sort. So don't go away. Let's continue to listen now to some of the closing arguments that this jury heard earlier today from the prosecution. This is the rebuttal.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk a little bit about some of these numbers that Mr. Whalen just threw out, okay? So we know from the time that Ms. Howington gets home from the park with her 2 kids, and the time 911 calls, just like Mr. Whalen said, it's about 11 minutes. And because of that surveillance video from the neighbor, we know what she was doing for a good amount of that time. So for one of those 11 minutes, she's either getting paid for window tinting or what we would submit to you is more likely a drug transaction. If you believe her statement that she came in for the very first time yesterday and sat on that stand, 3 of those minutes she was outside smoking, moving her car. And again, if you take her at her word for what she said on this stand yesterday, 4 of those minutes she waited to call 911 after seeing her child shot in the chest. Those were her words. Because she said that she walked up to that door, that glass door, she saw the flash of light, and she saw Gavin with the gun in his hand. And it is not until 4 minutes later that she places that call to 911. Let's talk about this 48 to 72 hours that the police have given her after she finds out that her daughter has been killed. Ladies and gentlemen, they gave her an hour, and what did she do? She hid the murder weapon, and she trashed her phone. Imagine what she could have done with 48 to 72 hours. That's why she didn't get additional time. It wasn't because the police were out there trying to investigate this murder. It had to be a murder, That's not what this was at all. The person that put murder in the police officer's mind was this defendant. She called 911 and said that somebody broke into her home and shot her 5-year-old daughter while she was laying on the couch in cold blood. Nobody put that in her head other than herself. This was the plan that she was concocting in those 4 minutes that she waited to call 911. And I want you to think about another thing. Mr. Whalen, he talked about the fact that Destiny probably died between 15 to 30 seconds based on what the medical examiner testified to. Go back and listen to that 911 call. When she gets back in the house after hiding the gun, as her daughter is probably taking what will be her last breaths alone because she is outside hiding her gun, think about what she says on that 911 call. She says she's still breathing. But again, Ms. Howington's not in there rendering aid. She can't be, based on her own statements. Think about what she said yesterday on the stand. While I was praying for her and saying her name, also while hiding the gun. Her daughter took her very last breaths while her mother was outside throwing the gun in a bush.
That is evidence not in the record.
This same instruction you will consider, ladies and gentlemen, what evidence is in the record and what is not. Final argument.
I also want to talk about the fact that Ms. Howington was apparently too distraught to talk to police after learning of her daughter's death. Okay? The defense keeps saying that she has PTSD, that there's no way she wasn't in her right mind, right? So there's no way that anything that she said to these investigators after finding out that her daughter had died was accurate. And that's why she was kind of all over the place. Ladies and gentlemen, she had no problem, none whatsoever, being very clear in these text messages to both Callie and to Mr. Keys. She was very clear in these messages about the events. She had no.
All right, so a fiery rebuttal there by the prosecution in this case in Tennessee. Catherine Lizardo is still here with me. Of course, Brian Buckmeyer as well. Catherine, let me ask you if you think there's anything that the defense could have done in addition to what we saw as this jury begins and continues its deliberation. What do you think?
I don't think there was any because of just the stack of evidence against her, especially with the lies. She was on the stand because she had to explain what happened, but her credibility was already shot way before she was on the stand with the many lies she told the police, the 4 different interviews that happened in several days. So the 48-hour to 72-hour that the defense was arguing that she had PTSD and she was overwhelmed, that belittled that argument. And one of the things that I'm not sure if the prosecution will address in the rebuttal is that they have to face the fact that we will never know what truly happened because it just sounds bizarre and unimaginable. But to tell the jury that is sadly the fact that we will never know, and you have to be okay to convict her knowing that we will never know, because there are only 2 people in that room left. That's the 2-year-old Gavin and her, and she has been lying to us, and Gavin can't tell us what happened because when they interviewed him, quote, he could barely even say his name because he was 2 years old.
That's a great point. So the jury's got a lot to chew on, and the defense job, if nothing else, is to make them think, make them do their job, and make them hold the prosecution to its burden of proof. Taking a break, we'll come back. More of that rebuttal after this. Tennessee, and while they do that, looking at an hour and a half at this point, we're wrapping up some of the closing arguments that they've had to chew on, as well as all the evidence in this case. So more of the rebuttal from the prosecution.
Telling them exactly where to go to her house and find that gun that she had just hid. She wasn't confused about that at all, was she? But you're supposed to believe that hours later she's too distraught to give an accurate story about how her daughter died? She's too distraught to even remember who all was in her home? Is that what you're supposed to believe? She can tell these people exactly where the gun is that she hid. She knows to go in a bathroom at UT Medical Center while her daughter's life lays in the balance and destroy her phone or try and give it away. She knows to do all that, but she can't possibly.
Couldn't have taken her last breath in the house and still be in her life in a balance at the hospital.
Right, this is final argument. You will judge what facts are within this record and what are not, ladies and gentlemen. Continue with your argument.
Again, she's too distraught to give accurate facts about what happened in the shooting, but she's not too distraught to do all these things to try and cover herself up, right? That's what you're supposed to believe. You're supposed to believe that she was protecting Gavin. That's why she did everything that she did. That's why she framed Destiny's father for murder, ladies and gentlemen. She did. Think about what she said up on that stand yesterday when I said that to her. I said, Miss Howington, you do realize that your statements alone could have caused Destiny's father to be arrested for first-degree murder. Her response to me, verbatim, was, Antoine didn't matter. Antoine had nothing to do with this case, but she had no problem framing him for murder as long as it didn't look like she did anything wrong. That's all this has ever been about, ladies and gentlemen. And again, you have those videos. You get to go back in that deliberation room and you can watch them as many times as you want. You find a place in there where she tells the investigators that she hid that gun to protect her son. Because I assure you, it's not in there. What she says is, I was scared I would get in trouble. I didn't want to be arrested for having a gun. Her. Not little 2-year-old Gavin. Her. That is the only person that this defendant has ever been worried about throughout the pendency. The 5 years that this case has been pending, she is only worried about herself. That is clear from the evidence in this case. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, there are some things that neither side is ever going to agree on, but the one thing that I will agree on is, yes, we are not standing up here in front of you and saying that Robin Howington took her gun and shot her daughter in cold blood, because we can't say that, okay? There are 3 people that know what happened in that house on September the 14th, 2019. One of them is 5-year-old Destiny. We all know that she can't come into this courtroom and tell you what happened to her. The other one was 2 years old at the time. And because he was 2 years old, when they tried to talk to him, what did he do? Rolled around the floor, drew a waterfall, drew a dog. He couldn't tell you what happened. He can't come in here in this courtroom and defend himself against his mother's allegations because he was 2 years old. The third person that knows exactly what happened in that house that night is that woman sitting right over there. And instead of being honest, instead of being truthful, when it came to who took the life of her 5-year-old child, she took every single opportunity in the world to lie and lie and lie.
Judge, I hate to object, but she can't say that Gavin can't come into the courtroom and defend himself against the accusation. That's their theory.
It's final argument. It's final argument.
Again, the only person who can really tell us what happened is that woman over there, and she has done nothing but lie since this thing started. Even up until she took that stand yesterday, that was the very first time that she has ever told that version of events. Very first time. 5 years this case has been pending. That's the first time when she took that stand in front of you all. That's the first time we've ever heard this version.
You know, I've seen a lot of cases where it's the defense is the other dude did it, but I've never seen any where the other dude did it as a 2-year-old. And that seems to be the defense in this case, as Robin Howington now awaits the jury's decision. There they are at an hour and a half into those deliberations. Hey, that's going to do it for me. I'm going to get the heck on out of here. But Imran Ansari is next. And before I let him in the door, I'm going to thank and excuse Catherine Lizardo and Brian Buckmeyer. Always a pleasure, guys. Head on out of here and have yourselves a great weekend. We'll see you next time right here on Law and Crime. Okay, so, try to do the right thing. And I will see you next time on Law and Crime.